Have you ever felt completely alone, like you're the only one left out, while everyone else is celebrating life's milestones, engagements, promotions, new friendships or family gatherings, and your phone stays silent? In those moments, it can feel like the world is moving on without you. But what if I told you that being alone is not curse, it is a divine setup for something bigger than you ever imagined? Stay with me, because loneliness, instead of being a sign of rejection, is actually the perfect moment where God is preparing you for something extraordinary. Let's take a deeper look at this truth through the lives of some of the greatest figures in the Bible. I think you'll find their journeys of solitude weren't just about survival. They were about transformation, purpose, and divine encounters. You might just find that your solitude holds the key to something bigger than you can see right now. Being alone doesn't mean you're abandoned. It means God is setting you apart for something greater. It can feel like you're stuck in a waiting room, watching life pass you by. But what if that waiting room is actually where your destiny is being shaped? Know this: when God calls you into solitude, it's never by accident. It's a season of preparation. And as hard as it may be to understand right now, God is working something powerful in the quiet. It's easy to see loneliness as rejection, but think about it for a second. Could it be that God is removing people from your life because they aren't meant to walk into your future? Or perhaps He's giving you this time alone to clear the distractions so you can hear His voice. Above all the noise, in these quiet moments, you are not forgotten. You are being prepared. In the world's eyes, loneliness might seem like an obstacle, but in God's eyes, it's a divine appointment. Think about the way a seed is buried underground. It seems like it's lost, isolated, and forgotten. But in that place, the seed is growing roots, preparing to push through the soil into something magnificent. Your loneliness may feel like a burial, but in God's hands, it's a planting season. Now, let's look at the lives of Moses and David. First, Moses thought his life was over after fleeing Egypt. He went from being a prince in Pharaoh's palace to a nameless shepherd in the wilderness for 40 years. Moses wandered the rugged hills of Midian, tending sheep, probably wondering if God had forgotten him. But wilderness wasn't a place of abandonment, it was a place of preparation. Moses' time alone was not wasted. In those years, God was teaching him patience, humility, and leadership. The wilderness wasn't a punishment, it was his training ground. Every lonely step he took was preparing him for the day God would call him to lead a nation out of slavery. When the time was right, God appeared to Moses in a burning bush, calling him to deliver his people. Moses' solitude was not a detour. It was the foundation for his calling. His time in the wilderness was not wasted. It was the key that unlocked his destiny. Next, let's talk about David. He was just a shepherd boy, spending his days alone in the fields, while his older brothers served in King Saul's army. It might have seemed insignificant, even lonely. David was alone, while others were where the action was, but God was watching. And in those fields, David was being shaped for greatness. David learned courage as he fought off lions and bears. He developed his skill with the sling and the harp, skills that would later slay a giant and soothe a king's troubled spirit. But the most important thing David learned in that season of solitude was worship. He learned to trust God with his heart, to pour out his soul in songs of praise when no one was around to hear. And when Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David wasn't even invited to the gathering, yet God chose him. God saw what no one else saw, the man after his own heart. David's time alone was not wasted, it was sacred ground. David didn't just survive being alone, he thrived in it. His solitude became a place of connection with God that prepared him to become the king of Israel. Moses and David didn't just get through their time alone, they learned to embrace it. They discovered the joy of being alone, because it was in those moments of quiet that they encountered God in the most profound ways. Now, you might be feeling lonely right now, and it may feel like it's never going to end. What if God is simply setting you apart, preparing you, developing qualities in you that will be essential for your future calling. Could it be that God is shaping you right now in a way that will launch you into your destiny? Being alone is a lifestyle. It's not just a season that will eventually pass. It's a rhythm of life, a way of being that keeps shaping us and drawing us closer to God. It's not about enduring loneliness, it's about finding purpose in it. God continues to call us into quiet places where He molds our hearts. In fact, the more we surrender to Him, the more we realize that loneliness can become a part of the divine rhythm of our lives, not a momentary pit, but an ongoing experience that deepens our relationship with Him. It's in these quiet moments that we are continually shaped and remade into the people He desires us to be. So, take a moment, ask yourself, what is God teaching me right now? This may not be the season to rush through, it may be the season to embrace. Because in those quiet, seemingly forgotten moments, God is preparing you for something extraordinary. The joy of being alone with God, it's not an impossibility, it's a divine invitation, and one day you'll look back and realize that the solitude you once feared was the very place where God prepared you for the greatness He has in store for you